Hi there, it's Stacey Ashley here, as promised, going live every other Tuesday. And today my focus is all about transformation and the transformation agendas that so many people are operating to at the moment. So I would love to know for you, what's on your agenda? Transformation, change, whatever the word is that you use to describe it. Is that something that you are focused on as a leader or as part of your role, your team contribution role, your thought leadership role, whatever it is that you do, is transformation, as it is, I think, for most people. But is that a big area of focus for you? Let me just get rid of this banner. Okay, so that we don't have too many words going over the top of each other. So I would love to know, is transformation something that you're focused on, or your organization, maybe has a bit of a focus on it at the moment? And let's have a bit of a talk about this. So the reason that I'm talking about transformation, and welcome, of course, to those people who are live. If you're watching the recording, thank you so much, and really look forward to seeing your comments as well. So please just drop a comment in. So transformation, the reason I'm talking about transformation is because it's been a topic of conversation with almost all of the leaders and organisations that I'm working with. And transformation takes many, many forms. And of course, it's been amplified because the world's changed over the last 18 months or so. But transformation and change has always existed. I think it's just really, the focus is there now. And I guess the conversation is a little bit more, is broader. And so the thing is that every leader at the moment is a leader of transformation, and that comes with its challenges because we don't necessarily know what to do. We don't necessarily have all of the toolkit to be able to lead change and transformation as well as we would like to be able to, as confidently as we would like to be able to. And I think the other big challenge that I would overlay with that is that historically, and the evidence shows this, that there are so many programs of work, so many changes that are initiated, so many transformation agendas that start and don't deliver what they promised, for lots and lots of reasons. Not most, I'm generalizing, many organizations don't have a great track record when it comes to actually achieving the objectives, the purpose that a change or transformation was initiated for. So I would love to know for you, does that resonate? Does that sound sort of familiar? And so if we overlay those couple of things, we've got massive transformation and change going, because in order to stay relevant as organizations, as leaders, as teams within our organizations, then we of course need to be actually making change because the world around us has changed. So in order to stay relevant, we have to make a change. Overlay that with the fact that historically change hasn't been done as well as it perhaps might have been, then we have this challenge that leaders are facing at the moment. And I wrote an article on this a couple of weeks ago, but the conversation continues, and so that's why I wanted to talk about it in tonight's live. So what can you do as a leader and or participant in a change agenda, in a transformation agenda? What can you do to help it along, to give it every chance of success? So I would love to hear your comments and see your comments. So what I've been thinking about is, what are the things that are going to contribute to a more successful opportunity for effective change and transformation? We want our leaders to be able to deliver the results. We want our organisations to achieve the change so that they can be relevant, so that they can be successful, so that they can contribute in their, in their economy, in their industry. There's so many reasons. So there are three key things that I want to talk to, but they all revolve around, I guess, one of the key concepts that supports more effective change, which is around building the buy-in and engagement of our people, having them want to be part of the change, having them be actively contributing, not just, reluctantly being kind of dragged along the change process. We want people to actually be part of it. We want their great ideas. We want their energy. We want them to point out the obstacles that we mightn't have thought of, or the risks. We want them to, to be making suggestions, because let's be honest, our people know probably a lot more about what's going on than we do. Because they're closer to the things that actually need to change. When we're asking people to change, or we're wanting an organizational change, we're actually asking every person in the organization to actually change from, what they're doing and how they're showing up, to do something differently, to get into a new state or a new way of operating in the future. And so that requires them to participate. And it's much easier when people choose to participate than when you have to sort of force them. No one wants to be a victim of change. It's much more comfortable, and you get much better outcomes if people want to be part of it. So how do you create the want, for people to want to be part of your change, to want to be involved, to want to contribute to, this great outcome that you want to work towards? And coaching is one of the most effective ways of building that engagement, of building, the desire for people to want to be part of it. And so how do we integrate this coaching approach into our change process to support the engagement, to create more effective communication, which we know is such a key to transformation? How do we do all those things, and how do we introduce this kind of coaching layer? So let me ask you another question. Does this make sense? Is it something that you see in terms of people's level of participation in changes, whether it's active or whether it's kind of reluctant? And what do you think about the idea of using a coaching approach to foster that engagement, to foster that contribution? Now, there's lots of research that in this space that sort of supports the idea that coaching is a great way to really engage people in the change process, and to build accountability and to have better conversations and those sorts of things. And the ICF study from, I think, 2018 also found exactly the same thing, that coaching was a major factor in organizations that were leading successful and effective change and transformation. So what I wanted to do is just to share with you a couple of ideas about, if we were to say we've got this change or transformation and we want it to be effective and we want to get the outcomes that are important to us, which might be keeping our business going. That might be the most basic of transformation agenda outcomes. We need to make a change in order for our business to survive, to have some sustainability about it, to maintain relevance in a world that has changed around us. So how do we then utilize coaching as a leverage, as an approach that we can foster that great outcome that we want to get? So there are I guess a couple of things that I think are really important to consider if you want to utilize coaching as one of the foundations for your change program, your transformation program. I'm just going to pop up my iPad so I can do a little bit of drawing, if I can actually find it. There we go. Pressing a few buttons here. All right, so hopefully you will be able to see my iPad, which has got a circle on it. Just the one circle. I'm actually going to draw 3 circles, but we'll start with one. So there are a number of things that we need to consider. I'm in fact going to draw all of my circles. There we go. I'll just move that one down a little bit. Oops. Okay, so hopefully you can see those 3 circles. So the first thing that I want to talk to you about, the very first dimension of, how do I build this coaching approach, this coaching framework as part of my approach to leading a transformation agenda that is going to have a higher chance of success and of achieving the outcomes. The first thing is to really look at the strategic agreement around the idea of using a coaching approach. So what do I mean by that? What I mean is that there needs to be buy-in at the highest level or at those influential levels to the concept of using coaching throughout the program of work, of actually being deliberate that one of the strategic approaches that you're going to use in your program of work, in your transformation, is to use a coaching approach. So we need our executive team, we need our key stakeholders, we need, whoever is the program sponsor, we need the program directors and the senior program leaders, we need, the key business representatives. They all need to actually buy into the concept that we're going to use a strategic coaching approach for this program of work, because if we don't have that endorsement, if we don't have that shared understanding of how we're actually going to do this, then of course we're going to get a really inconsistent approach, and we're not going to be able to tap into the power of coaching throughout the program. So that's the first thing. We've got to establish agreement with everyone that this is how we're doing this thing. Following on from that, once we've got that agreement, then we need to actually do something about it. We can't just say to everyone, because we know, for example, with transformation, that communication is such a key. We need to have lots of really consistent communication, really regular. The messaging needs to be consistent. And the most important people to be part of that communication are, the most senior person in the organization, the CEO, the MD, whoever they are, the person who everyone looks to for the vision, the direction. They need to be really visible in your transformation. The second person that I trust, though, when it comes to communicating, is my immediate leader. And so depending where I am in the organization, that could be the CEO, it could be someone in the executive team, it could be a mid-level leader, might be my immediate leader, it could be a frontline leader, might be my immediate leader, the person I trust the most when it comes to communication and communicating the change and transformation. So when it comes to, we're going to use a coaching approach as part of our process, then it's really important that we actually make sure that all of our leaders who need to be having all of these really key and important conversations are actually equipped. And so that brings us to the importance of actually giving them the right skills. And I've just seen that Trinza's popped up in the comments the article, the details of the article I wrote on this topic, so you can grab that and have a look at it. And that's got all this model and everything in it. So the second key component of this coaching approach, as a key to leading your transformation, is that we need to build capability. We've got to develop our people so that they are equipped with the ability to utilize a coaching approach. And so why do I mention this? Because I know in many organizations there's an expectation that leaders will coach their people, and it's just assumed that people know how to coach. And that's a really big assumption, because a lot of people who believe they are coaching, who believe that they're using a coaching approach, about 70% of those people aren't actually coaching. They just think they are. So they're using more consulting, mentoring, recommending, guiding, but they're not coaching. And so if we want to be using a coaching approach where we're building accountability and we're building engagement and all of those things, then we need to give our leaders the skills so that they feel confident and equipped to have the coaching conversations that we need them to have to foster that communication, to foster, you know, that confidence and commitment. So if we've got strategic agreement that we're going to use a coaching approach and we build capability, then we have confidence that we can actually do this thing, yeah? And we can use a coaching approach. Now, of course, as I said, communication is a fundamental part of a successful transformation. We need to let people know what's going on, why it's going on, what they need to do, how they need to do it, when they need to do it, you know, how they can participate, and all of those sorts of things. And so it's really important that we have very consistent conversation, that immediate, you know, person to leader type conversation, whether it's individual or in groups. We've got to foster that. And so that consistent communication is really key to the success of not only our transformation, but actually to the success of using our coaching approach to contribute to the success of the transformation. So we really want to have that ongoing conversations, you know, throughout the life of the program, not just at the beginning when we launch or in the middle when we hit a milestone, but all the time, because we're trying to build and maintain engagement, motivation, participation, contribution to the change. And so if we have our leaders who have a toolkit that enables them to have those kinds of conversations and they're doing it consistently, we build connection with the program of work, connection with our people so that they can contribute, and connection to purpose of why we're doing it in the first place. And with our consistent communication and our you know, agreement that we're going to use that coaching approach, we've got real commitment into the process and the way that we're going to actually do it. And so that's really how we build the steps to our coaching approach, which is, I think, one of the most important keys to leading successful transformation. And it's actually one of the simplest, provided we give, you know, we put some thought into it. We strategically agree that this is how we're going to do it. We build the capability so people are confident to be able to do it. And then we actually do it with our consistent, you know, conversations. So I would love to know for you, what are your thoughts around using coaching as a real vehicle to actually support your transformation agenda and intention, so that you can deliver the outcomes that your transformation is intended to, that you actually do achieve those objectives rather than it falling short, rather than you not realizing the benefits or the outcomes or the, you know, intention and purpose of this in the first place. So just some key ideas, I think, to get you considering what can you do, because again, so many leaders are leading a big transformation agenda and you want to be successful and you want your people to be successful. So how do you do that? I think this is a really important conversation for you to be having. And I'd love to know what your thoughts are about how this conversation is happening in your organization at the moment, whether it is and whether it isn't. And if it is, you know, what do you need to do to keep it going and actually get some traction and some action so that you can really use coaching as a way of fostering those great outcomes from your transformation process and agenda. Okay, so they're the main things that I really wanted to cover tonight around that key to transformation, utilising that coaching approach. And I'd be keen to hear more of your comments and thoughts. Around leadership in general, though, I just wanted to make a quick note that I'm running a webcast, it's probably next week, which is all about leadership mojo. I've been talking to a few leaders lately who've said, you know, I just feel like my energy's just not quite where it normally is, and I want to make sure that I'm showing up at my best. So I've got a few ideas that I'm going to be sharing next week. So it would be great to see you there. I'm just going to pop up if I can find it. Okay, there we go. So you can register for that webcast here, and then you can join me next Tuesday when I talk about Leadership Mojo and how to make sure that you've got yours. Okay, so I think that's me done. I'm going to be talking on Clubhouse, or hosting on Clubhouse on Friday morning as well. So if you missed and you'd like to have the opportunity to actually have a conversation about coaching as one of the keys to your transformation agenda and success, then I'd love to see you on Clubhouse on Friday morning. All right, I think that we're done for tonight. So thanks so much for joining me. If you're watching the replay, pop your comments in. I'd love to hear your thoughts about what's happening in the transformation space in your organization and how coaching and a coaching approach might help or is helping. I'd love to hear your stories. So please add it to the comments, and I'll be back very soon to talk about, well, I'll keep that a secret, but another leadership topic. And I'll see you soon.